Hi, I'm Chris and welcome to the next video in my Learning Symfony 2 tutorial series. In this video we're going to be looking at Doctrine, which is the Object Relational Mapper which sits over our MySQL database in this case. It doesn't need to be MySQL, it could be any compatible database such as PostgreSQL or Microsoft SQL or MongoDB. You will possibly have also seen one called Propel. Propel's like an alternative to Doctrine, but I would say the majority of people who deal with Symfony work with Doctrine. That's perhaps a generalization which people may shout about, but generally all the documentation relates to Doctrine. Anyway, we're going to briefly cover what Doctrine is and why we use it and how it's different from SQL. We're going to look at then connecting to our MySQL database via Doctrine, which also involves creating the database. We're going to look at entities, which are the way that we tell Doctrine about our tables and our data. We're going to be looking at how we save data to the database, how we retrieve it, how we update it and then resave it, and also how we delete it. We're going to be looking at querying for objects in our database, or querying for data in our database. I put in advanced there, but I actually just mean various other methods of doing so. We're going to be looking at some of the built-in methods which we can use to quickly get our data back. Helpful return methods, which is just like making sure that if we only want one result, then we can say just with one method that we only want one result, and so on. You'll see it's easier to show you. Using the query builder and how we pass parameters into the query builder. Again, we'll cover that more depth. Querying using DQL, which is Doctrine Query Language. It's similar to SQL in terms of syntax and look, but it's not quite the same. Creating our own methods using the repository, that's very straightforward and it sounds complicated, but it's not. Entity relationships, so if you've ever done SQL stuff before, you'll know that the likelihood is that your data is not going to be in one table. We're going to want data from multiple tables at the same time, and we want it all related in a nice fashion. So we're going to be looking at that. And lastly, we'll look at lifecycle callbacks, which is a complicated name for something that's actually quite useful. So we're going to start off at the Symfony site. I'm just going to go to documentation. I'm going to go to databases and Doctrine. As I say, there is one for Propel there, should you be so inclined, but personally I wouldn't recommend it, as you'll have a harder time than if you just went with Doctrine. Okay, so yeah, we briefly covered on what Doctrine is. Effectively, Doctrine has two parts. It's got the database abstraction layer, or DBAL, and it's got the ORM, which is the Object Relational Mapper. Don't worry too much about what those terms mean at this point. Basically, the DBAL, or the abstraction layer, is simply the way in which Doctrine stops us from having to worry about which specific database implementation we're using underneath. So, as I say, you can use MySQL or Microsoft SQL or Mongo, but we don't need to worry about the specific syntax for querying those databases. So, like, you might have an application which has got, at the moment, you might have an application that's got all the SQL queries built in, which you've coded in. So if your boss came across and said, guys, today we're going to be swapping across to MongoDB for whatever reason, it would probably be a bit of a ball ache to go through and swap that over. Whereas with Doctrine, it should just be a case of updating your parameters and so on, and be a lot more straightforward, as your queries aren't going to change because they're abstracted. Or as this says, totally decoupled. That's the theory anyway. The likelihood of changing your database like that is pretty slim, but that's not the main reason that we use it. Yeah, and then there's the other part, which is the Object Relational Mapper, which is easier to show you than to explain, honestly, as conceptually it's a little bit weird if you're coming from the SQL world and you've never touched an ORM before. Anyway, right. First thing that we need to do is actually scroll down and make sure that we've got our database set up for UTF-8. So I'm just going to go in here. I've just been playing around. Ignore that. So the first thing that we would do, in fact, I think I might... Yeah, I've still got that database. Let's just drop that. Might as well start from scratch. Just making sure that this all went to plan, as this is like the third time through. There's been problems. Anyway, right, let's just crack on. What were we doing? Making sure that our MySQL conf is correct. So the first thing we do is sudo by etc mysql my.conf. And password is lamp, by the way. It is for me. And then right at the bottom, as I said, I've put this in already, so I'm just going to take that out. What I would normally do though is just press O to get a new line, and then get rid of that. And then I would just paste that in. Copy and paste. Oh, that's not worked. That's not good. I'm not happy. Let's copy that again. That's better. And then just press escape and :WQ for write and quit. And then we want to do sudo service MySQL restart. And it's a little bit weird actually. I'm having a bit of trouble with MySQL today. Let's just, come on. I was doing this before. What I ended up having to do was go to here, which is just the actual machine itself, and then redo it from there. And then it did it before. Yeah, no, it's done it, but it's taking its sweet time for some reason today. Let's just double check that we can connect. MySQL u root HP. Yes, good. Right, so we know that we've got connectivity to the database there. So the first thing that we need to do is actually tell Symfony that we've got connectivity to which database to connect to. So we need to look into two files here. Well, actually really only one, but I will show you what's happening there. So we've got the parameters file, parameters.yaml, which is in our app config directory, and we need to give our database a name. I'm just going to call it oh my god, can't even type. Learn Symfony. We've got our username set up, which is root, password, which is lamp, database localhost. Just going to save that off. But what that is actually doing is it's taking the parameters that we've put in there and it's passing them into config YAML by way of that import at the top. So yeah, in here we've got the Doctrine full configuration, but it's sort of, they've separated it out so that you're not editing the config file. Well, I don't know why, but hey ho. Anyway, and then what they're doing is they're passing these in via parameter, like the parameter string is actually, it starts off with these percentages, and what it really means is it's just a parameter name elsewhere. I mean, we could create one ourselves and just call it database.blah and give it, I don't know, a string like yarp, whatever. And then we could have done like database.blah there, and it would populate the password field then with yarp. If that makes sense, it's just a simple variable. Let's get rid of that. Save that. Get rid of that. Save that. Because we've made some changes to our config, we're going to need to do a cache clear. So php app console cache clear. Right, and some of the other commands that we're going to be touching on very shortly are available here. Just do php app console. We get a full list. Obviously, we're going to be looking at the Doctrine commands. Specifically, we're going to be doing create, database create, database drop, and schema update. And I think that's pretty much it for this one. We'll just do a php app console, and then just copy that in Doctrine, database create. And it's gone off there and created as our Learn Symfony database, which is what we told it to do from the parameters YAML. We can close these down now. So if we go into SQL Yog, do a refresh at the top, you can see that we've got our Learn Symfony database, which has currently got no data in it, or no tables. And the other thing we can do from the command line is a database drop. And we need to force that. And it's gone. But obviously we don't want to do that, but just so that you know that you can do that. Right, so we've got our database recreated. So the thing that we actually need to do now is create, tell Symfony how we actually want to put data into that database. So to do that, we're going to create in our bundle, we're going to create a folder called Entity. I think that might just be convention. I'm not too sure if it has to be called Entity or not. Let's just scroll down and show you where this comes from. Right, so we've got, let's scroll to the top so you can see. Creating an entity class. Right, so yeah, we've got this piece of code here that we might as well just copy and paste this because I'm lazy. So let's just copy that out. We're just going to call ours person. They've called theirs product, but just to give it a slight different bit, we're going to call it person. And we need our PHP tag. And then we need to change up the namespace. So ours is MCM demo bundle. And we're in the entity namespace. Ours is going to be called person. Remember, it's got to match the entity name's got to match the class name. And we're going to give ours a name, an age, and a favourite football team. Why not? Right, so that's all good. We've got our entity now, but the thing is, there's still no way of telling Symfony Doctrine, how this data actually relates to. Well, it doesn't. It just doesn't know at this point that this is in any way related to creating a table. So if we run let's just see, what would it be? Let's just get rid of that. Doctrine schema update force. So there's nothing there. It doesn't know anything about that at the moment. Just to prove that. So what we need, if we scroll down a little bit, there is ways that you can use Symfony's command line to generate your entities. I've had really bad experiences with this in the past, although it was much earlier versions of Symfony. So I just don't use it anymore. I just do it like this. And once you've created one or two entities, you just end up sort of copying and pasting them anyway. I do, and then just ripping the bits out as needed. So the first thing that we need is our use statement, and we're just basically saying we're going to be using Doctrine's ORM mapping facility as ORM, which we then use in these annotations here. So we'll just paste that in. Yeah. And then other key things that we need, we'll need an ID field. So just take a copy of that, and I'll just go through what that's doing. Now, in my MySQL database, as you are most likely aware, you normally would have an ID for your record, which would be of integer type, so it would just be a basic number, and it would automatically increment whenever you added a new record in. So like the first one would be 1, the next one 2, and then you delete, say, 2, the next one would be 3. It wouldn't just reuse 2. If that makes sense. Anyway, well, that's basically what that's saying. The other thing we need is at the top something. Oh, I don't want any of that crap. God damn it. Ugly comment. Right. So this one we want ORM entity, and that'll be, I think, enough. So with that data, that's pretty much enough to get the entity generated. I'm pretty sure. Let's just see. We might need to do the getters and setters. Let's just see. It doesn't seem to like that. Let's just try. I don't know if you do need a getters and setters. Let's just try it. Generate. So we only ever want a getter for our ID. We don't need a setter because Doctrine will take care of that. And then we're going to do generate getters and setters for the rest. I know they're out of order, but does the job. Let's just see, we've got that, and let's just do PHP app console, cache clear. And now try again. Right, so effectively what that's done is it's told Doctrine to use that entity as a table, turn it into a table based on the information that we've given it. So what this should have done, in theory, is created a table called person. It will be in lowercase. It will have given it an ID field, which will be set to integer strategy of automatically increment. Then we'll have 3 string fields called name, age, and fave football team. Obviously, age shouldn't be a string. We'll correct that in a minute. So let's just have a quick look. We've got a person, uppercase. That's probably not what we wanted. Let's just see. Open the table. Interesting. It's not bothered to put those in. Right, so we must actually have to do that. I thought you could do it. Maybe it's because I've been prattling around with other MVCs. Yeah, no, my bad. Anyway, right, let's just copy these out. I thought it did that automatically. On tape as well. Terrible. Right, laziness on my part gets caught up there. We don't want it to be called... you see... What on earth? Chris, you are an idiot. Let's just call it person. We can call this anything really. We can give it like, some people like stick table in front of it and all sorts of stuff, but I'm happy with it just to be called person, lowercase in this case. We want it to be singular, not persons or people or anything. It's just, yeah, we want to keep that singular. So again, this is telling Doctrine to set up a SQL table with a type string. Our length will be 100 characters, and a favourite football team, I don't know, we'll just set that to 255. But this one we actually want it to be a type integer. We can get rid of that. And let's see, it might be type int. Nothing to update, yes there is. Silly, but you often end up having to clear the cache for the most minute of things, and when your database gets, when your entity structure gets big, it can take a while. It's not wanting to do that, is it? It really isn't. Why not? What on earth? I found him. What the hell's happening there? Why on earth's that not working? Oh, there we go. Damn you, Adams. Right, so we got our name, age, and let's just see. Yeah, so we've got these fields created, and you can see there they match up with what we put into our entity structure. So what was the next thing that I said we'd cover? Now that we've actually got some data, it's a table that we can store our data in. What we would probably want to do in that case is to store some data in it. And we're not going to cover forms in this tutorial, that's the next set. But we're just going to fake it, basically. Get rid of that. Let's just make sure that root doesn't cock up over that. Yeah, I'll get rid. Right, so what we want to do is create ourselves a person. Equals new person. And then person should have all these different methods. So we've got our name, age, and football team. We're going to set our person to have a name of Bob. I bet. Let's just say set. That's just going to allow us to chain. And set football team, Man United, obviously, and age 56. Right, so we've got our person, and if we go to get this, this is just my website, by the way, where it's got some handy bits and pieces for development. I'm going to copy that out, and this is basically a handy utility which dumps out. If you do a print R or a var dump on a Doctrine result, you end up virtually crashing. You can, well, crashing the server because it just recurses like crazy. So use this pretty much whenever you're dumping anything out. It shouldn't matter at this point because it's just a standard class, but yeah, going forwards it would matter. So let's just double check this. Effectively what should happen here is we've created a new person, we've set some fields, and then when we dump it out we should see that data dumped out. Effectively it's not going to hit this render action because we're exiting first. So if we do hello, I think actually I'll need to clear the cache, won't I? As ever. And then say run that. Right, so we can see now that we've got our entity dumped out. We've not got an ID set. Doctrine will take care of that. We've got our name of Bob. Our age is null. Why is our age null? We'll cover that in a sec. I'll come back to that. Oh, silly me. Let's try again. We've got our age of 56 and our favourite football team is Man United. Right, so now that we know that we've got an entity with some data in it, we can then persist that data to the database. So the first thing that we actually need to do is get the entity manager. And again, because I'm incredibly lazy, I normally just copy this from here. Where are we? Here we go. Excellent. I'll just go in here. Right, let's just go through what's going on here. So we've got our person. We've set him up. Now we create, we get the entity manager, which is what EM stands for, via Doctrine. And this used to be called, oh God, I think this used to be called Get Entity Manager, but then they changed it to just Get Manager, something like that. Anyway, that's changed relatively recently. And then what we're doing is we're persisting it. So we're persisting the entire object. There's no SQL involved at this point, you'll notice. We're persisting it, which is saving that off to the database. We're flushing it, and then, which actually, see what Doctrine will do is it sort of batches the jobs, it queues them off. So in this case, we're telling it to persist, but until we tell it to flush as well, that action won't actually happen. Yeah, so we need to flush everything off before you see any change in the database. I'm going to save that off and rerun it. Where are we? Base table, have you not found? Table, learn Symfony, person does not exist. It's because it's lowercase, isn't it? And it's not changed that round. Let's just drop the database. Try again. Drop. Create. Clear the cache. Let's try that again. Oh, I need to update. Dropped it. Schema update. Person, now lowercase. And yeah, it's gone through this time and it's dumping us out to this hello action, which doesn't seem to be rendering index. Oh, there's nothing there. I'll just say things went well. And if I run that again, though, it's going to save the record off twice, but you'll see that in a sec. Oh, sod off. Everything's gone pear-shaped because it's all lowercase and uppercase. Don't know, I've literally just got this new version of SQL Yog, so I'm not 100% sure how to just refresh that easily. Open the table. So you can see now we've actually persisted that data off, and again, if I do, because at this point there's no sort of nothing to stop this from saving twice. If I do it again, we'll see things went well, and we've now got 2 records, which isn't what we want really. So what was the next bit? So we're going to actually retrieve some data at this point. Let's do a person. So we've saved off our data, and we're just going to get rid of that. Let's comment it out for now. So we want to retrieve our data, and again we'll just fire back to the Symfony site and do a not fetching. We want to do query for, let's see what I'll do. See, this is basically how I work. I just copy the bits out and then change them as required. So it looks a little bit like lame that I don't just type it all out, but yeah, meh. So change this off to person, and again we're getting this Doctrine get repository now, and we want to change this up to get from our bundle. So we're going to change this off to MCM demo bundle, and then we just need the class name. So we're going to find by ID. What we'll do is we'll just quickly change this off to be something better. We'll call this guy Tim, 23, and he supports return. And what we can do is just find off that ID. For example, this might have come through via the controller, so we'll just say 1. In fact, we'll say 2 so we can see that it's a little bit different. Finds the ID. If no person, this will create a not found exception, which effectively just Yeah, it's like a crazy loop, but effectively it's just going to create a 404 if we can't find the ID, so no person found for ID, and then we don't need to flush that because we're not actually saving any data. And then we're not going to dump. We're not going to be able to display anything at this point because that will just involve writing some code, which I don't want to do because it's just an example. So this should then dump out Tim, I think it was. Let's just go. So yeah, this time we've actually retrieved some data. We retrieved Tim, 23, Sports Everton. And what we could do then is search for a number 3 who doesn't exist. We should get a 404 page. Yep, no person found, which is the error message that we set up. But this time we want to edit the data first. And we're going to do person set. What's going on there? We've got if person set. Let's do set football team to God only knows. Preston North End. Why not? And then we're going to persist person. We're going to flush it because we've changed it again. Flush. And then if we do a dump out person, what have we got? We've persisted it, set the football team, blah, blah, blah. Right, if we refresh this now. Oh, we're still searching for number 3, aren't we? Doubt. We're going to do it for number 2. So yeah, let's just quickly cover off what I'm doing here. Searching for record 2, which currently is Tim, who sports Everton. We're going to ignore that bit because it will find it this time. We're going to change his football team to Preston North End. Then we're going to save him and flush him. And then we should see that Tim's new favourite football team has been saved off to the database as PNE. There we go. Excellent. And lastly, because Tim now has decided that he hates football, we're going to delete the guy from the database. So let's just do, we get rid of that bit because we know he exists. This makes it a bit cleaner. I'm going to get rid of that bit. And lastly, we're going to do remove. And then we're going to flush it. Let's just do that. And he should be gone. He's gone. Excellent. So that's persisting, retrieving, updating, and deleting, which has taken bloody ages. I'm just going to pause the video here, and then the next one will be in a separate video. Hi and welcome back. In this video we're going to be looking at the built-in methods for querying. Just to very quickly show you, let's just see. This is what we're talking about. It's on the where are we? The database and doctrine page. You scroll down to, where are we? Persisting, blah blah blah, fetching Gretchen. Right, yeah. You scroll down there, and then these are the methods that we're going to look at. I'm just going to go through them quickly. So I've done a little bit of boilerplate setup here. We've got our repository, which is similar to last time, where it's basically saying to Doctrine, go ahead and get the entity person, the repository for that. So effectively the SQL table behind it. If you think of it like that, it's the easiest way. And then we're going to be doing a lookup, which says find anything with the find the record with the primary key, in this case 4, and store that into the variable person. Then we're passing the person variable to our template, and in our template we're going to be doing a bit of output. So person.name simply relates to person.name, and again person.fave football team, person.fave football team. And notice the capitalization as well. What this will do in the background is simply trigger the getter, so it will actually just go person.get have football team like that, and then output that. And yeah, so for this record, for this example, we're just going to find one result via the primary key. I put some additional data in, and in this case it should be Alan 45. I'm going to change that up. I'm going to go for record 5 just to show that it works. And then refresh the page. And we've got John is 96 and he supports Man United. Right, so interestingly, that is just getting, it populates the class effectively. What it does is it recreates a class, the class person, and repopulates it with the data it finds from the database. So if we do a dump out there, you can see it's object of class entity person. But what you'll see in a sec is when we get more than one person out, it will actually put it into an array collection, which is why I've also created this little bit of boilerplate here, which was going to do a for loop. But to do that, we need a collection. Otherwise, well, we need more than one record effectively. Otherwise, it's not going to know to go through there. So yeah, next method. If we go back here, we've got find one by, and then he's doing it by ID. Well, that's the same as just doing find, basically. Well, what we can do is find one by, and then we can just do find one by, and then a field name from in here. So we could do like find one by name, find one by age, find one by fab football team. We'll just do it by find one by age. And in this case, what's one of our ages? 45. Where are we? 45. And again, let's see if we refresh that. See, we're still getting a class here because we're finding one. Find one by. We've got Alan, who is 45. I'll just get rid of the dump. It's important to know like how the data comes back. That's why I'm going through it like that. Yeah, I know. I shouldn't have taken that debug, that thing off, should I? Oh, that'll do. And Alan is 45, supports Rotherham. Next one up is find one. Let's see. Find by price. Why is he doing that? Find by. You see. Right. Yeah, we'll get rid of that one for now. Put this one back in because now we're going to switch over to collections. Right. So put that debug back in there. I'm going to call this people now, and we're going to do find by. We'll just do find all to begin with, because what's that? It's literally just going to go away and find all our records. And you'll see now that this comes back as a different type. It comes back as a collection, well, an array in this case. There is a way to change how the records come back. Well, we're going to look at that. So if we take that debug off, it should now output them out nicely. No, because I've left that thing in. Person in people. What I'm doing there is literally just changing that, because now instead of passing across person, we're passing across an array of people. So we're saying for person in people, if you're struggling with this, go to Twig and look at the documentation. Just Twig, I think it's like the first result. Yeah. Sensio Labs, twig.sensio labs, and then the documentation. Scroll to the bottom, and then there's various bits and pieces for Twig. And in this case, we're just using the for loop. So if we do a refresh, there we go. We've got our list of all the people in the database. And let's see what else we can do. Find by, and then criteria. I think. Do we need to do an array there? We might have to do an array. I'm just going to do it by Man United because I think there's two of them. Let's just see. Where's my database? Man United. Copy that out. See what we get. Yeah, find one by. We need to pass it in as an array. Otherwise it doesn't know. Find by array. And then we give it a, is it Fave football team? Fave football team, Man United. Let's try that. So what this has done is it's brought back an array just of the matching results. And then again, we can just drop these out into our template. Yep, so that's another way of doing a query, find by, and then obviously you might tidy it up a little bit, like put it on different lines or whatever. But what's the other one that we can do? The built-in ones, find all, we've done that, find by, yeah, pretty much. And then you can sort it as well, what that's doing there. Let's do a quick sort just so that we can see that. Array, and then array. We can sort that by, how's it coming out currently? Bob and John, let's just sort it in alphabetical reverse. Sort by, I think it's like that. Desk. Oh no, his name, won't it? Yeah, so just switched it round. It's horrible if you ask me that the syntax for that. It's like basically what you're saying is, I've really not put it in a nice way either. What we're saying is find by favourite football team where that equals Man United. So let's just type this out. Select. It's not going to let me, is it? Not easily. Select star from person. Sod off. Where you can see what I mean, equals Man United, and then order by name desk. That's basically what that syntax is turning into in a SQL environment behind the scenes. Right, so what else is there? Let's see. We've got people. Fair enough. Right, find by blah blah blah. Okay, that should be enough for this video. Yeah, the next video we're going to be looking at how to change the way that the data is returned. Okay, so welcome back. In this video we're going to be looking at how to use the query builder, and then from there we'll be able to look at how to change the way we receive our results from Doctrine, so like the style in which we receive our results. I've made a quick template change. It's basically saying here if person is defined, so if we're passing in the variable person via our template, our render method should I say, then display the output as such. However, if we're passing in people, then display it like that instead. So if person is defined, in this case person is defined, and this bit won't run. That's just a little bit of twig there. Again, if you're unsure about the twig stuff, just go to the documentation at the twig.sensiolabs.org, I think it is. Right, anyway, so we're going to be using the query builder. So the first thing we need to do is create query equals repository, if you can spell, and then we're going to do create query builder, and just leave it there for 1 sec, because as you've noticed there, the autocomplete didn't happen. Right, so if you're using PHP Storm, I don't know if this works in other IDEs, just do it here so that you can see it. I'm just going to put in variable blah, and then we're going to tell it what kind of variable it is, which is Doctrine ORM entity manager. So that's now telling it that the repository variable actually is of this type. So instead we should get, see, we get loads of other stuff now. Create query builder is one of them, and we need to give it an alias. In this case we're going to call it P, because we're going off the person table, and that's again a bit of a weird syntax, so yeah. Then we're going to do where, so effectively this is a bit like SQL, and then we're going to do p.name. If you think about it, P is person, person has the field name, equals, and then we're going to do name, colon name, because this is going to be a parameter, and then we're going to tell it what that parameter actually means by doing set parameter, and we're going to give it the name. I'm going to say which one of our guys do we want to pull out. We haven't heard from Billy, so let's do Billy. And then we're going to need to do, lastly, get query. Okay, so that's basically got the query stored in there, and we're now going to do person, because we're only going to get one person back. Query get result, and again you can see a few different things in here. Get result, get single result, get array result. I'm just going to do get result, and then this is getting passed off. So if we do this, key name for arrays, blah. We output that as person, age. That's come back as an array, I think. There. Let's do get single result. Yeah. So what's happening there? The reason for that error is by default, because we're doing get result. In fact, I'll just put the debug on, and it'll show you, and I can explain it a little bit better visually. Dump that out on person. Right, so because we're telling it to get a single result, it doesn't use an array. So if we just do that, you can see, oh, sod off. You can see it's just brought back one object, and the object has been populated with Billy's data, right? But if we do a get result, it's going to bring back an array instead of one. Array of one. Yeah. Not too sure why that wouldn't output though. Oh right, yeah. Yeah, I think I do know. Because it's not called people, it was called person. So it was still trying to populate this bit, but it was using, see, like if we do it like this, person.0, and the reason being that this is element 0 in that array. That might not have made sense. Let's just refresh it anyway. Yeah, well, I'll show you. Oh my god, how many of these have we got open? Apologies. Not what you want to sit and watch. Sorry about that. Right. So as it is at the moment, we're dumping out, when the result is returned from this query as a result, get result, so it returns it as an array, and it puts it into array 0. This element goes into the, because there's only one, it will go into position 0 in the array. So what that twig error was saying, let's just see if I can get it back. I've still got my dump on, haven't I? What that was saying is there is no element. There was no element there. We have to tell it to look in element 0 of the array. See, as soon as we take that out, see, like that could be like 3 or whatever. If there was a third person, a fourth person, should I say, in the array, 0 indexed. See, we get this error, and key 0 does not exist, even though that looks like an O. My God, the first time I came across that, I was like, what the hell? I didn't even put an O in there. What? But anyway, that's what it's saying. Key 0 doesn't exist. You know what I mean. Right. So yeah, we're getting this array back, and we can change the way that we get the results, like get array result. So yeah, it's really like we can be quite specific about how we want the data returning, which is useful depending on, you know, if your template's written in such a way and you don't want to always output like 2 different ways of outputting and stuff, it's just pretty handy. Yeah. What else is there? I guess I'll finish up this video here, and then we'll look at DQL in the next video. Okay, so in this video we're going to be looking at DQL, or Doctrine Query Language, and this is kind of the most unintuitive way, I guess, of using Doctrine when you first start out, yet it looks like it should be the simplest. So anyway, going back to the Doctrine page in the manual, we're going to click on Querying for Objects with DQL. It's going to copy this whole thing out, as you know, that's what happens in the real world. I'm just going to get rid of this, but what we're going to do is recreate this. So in fact, no, I'll leave that in. Shall I leave that in? Yeah, what I'll do, so that we can see it later on, I'm going to duplicate that whole thing and just get rid of it for now. Okay, so looks pretty similar in terms of you know, this sort of base bit looks quite similar to stuff that you've already seen. First of all, we're getting the entity manager, then we're creating a query, we're setting some parameters, and then we're going to be getting our result, which we can then output. But what we're seeing here though is actual something that looks more like SQL, yet it isn't, but it looks very similar. Because I mean, you can see here, like, this bit is just not normal. But it is pretty straightforward at the end of the day. It's not like rocket science. All we're doing is we're selecting P as we did before. That's what that bit was doing. Then from our repository, so effectively we're aligning what P stands for there. So we select it. It's effectively like saying select star from product, if you get me. And then where price equals a parameter price, order by that price, and then set the parameter there. So if we recreate our query from here, we've got select P from MCM demo. Oh, we can just nick that whole thing. Excellent. Excellent. And we'll just put that in. Where P, I know it's his name, isn't it? Name equals name. And we'll change up the query then. We'll do it by where age, where persons.age. I mean, this can be anything, by the way. You can just do it like that. You could just select person and then just do like person.age. It depends on, you know, it's just more verbose, isn't it? I guess you can do it however you want. And then it's greater than age. In fact, we'll do less than. And we'll do anyone less than, oh, I don't have too many young people there. Anyone less than 40. So I'm just going to stick in 40 here. And we've got order by person dot name. Oh, person. And then we're going to do it descending. I actually prefer to just do it a little bit like this. I don't know, I'm a bit anal about this sort of thing. And we need to set that to age. Person. It's people, isn't it? People when you're getting more than one. Oh, basic English. People. Yeah, so effectively, yeah. I think that should be pretty self-explanatory. Let's see what we get. Something went wrong. Cannot redeclare. Oh yeah, I've got the indexing twice, haven't I? Whatever. Right, so we've got that back our result, and we've only got 2 as we expected, because there's only 2 people less than 30, 40 should I say, and it come back as an array. Again, you can change it up like we did in the last video, and then we've sorted it as well, haven't we? We sorted it by, what did we sort by? We sorted it by something. Person's name descending, so that's why Jim comes before Billy. Get rid of that, and then have another look. Undefined variable person. Default controller. Yeah. Damn it. So there you go. Let's just output it, and that's basically DQL, Doctrine Query Language. Not that much different from that. If anything, I actually prefer doing it like this, just because I like SQL, and I like the syntax. And I find it a little bit easier to read than that, but you will find a hell of a lot of people will recommend you do it this way, and you know, fair play to them. One thing though, you might be thinking, well, this is alright, like, but once my actions become relatively big, this is going to look like shit. Like, there's just crap everywhere, and like, this is not reusable, and it's a mess basically. So like, what can we do about that? So this is where repository classes come into it, and we're going to create one by going and creating a repository folder. I hope I spelled that right. Repository. Yeah, and then we're going to do a new file called person repository. And what we're basically going to do is take this query out and put it into the person repository. And again, I'm not going to pretend that I do this without just copying and pasting. So let's just find the bit for repositories. Creating a custom repository class. Excellent. We're just going to nick all that bit. We need to put the PHP bit at the top. That's horrible. I don't know if you guys use this. Like, how the hell? Oh, it's not that one, is it not? Ignore. Talking out of my ass. It used to put something in after that PHP error message every time. And then I also got another one where the namespace always comes out weird, like namespace. Like, why can't you just do the right one the first time? So annoying. I don't know. Just me being a noob. Right, MCM demo bundle. But it's not entity, is it? It's now in the repository namespace. And no, we've taken the wrong thing, haven't we? That's why. This is what we need. Copy and paste king over here. We do need that bit. We'll come back to that in a sec. And we're going to call this person repository. Let's get rid of that bit for now. Yes. Right, now we need to go to our person repository, and in here we need to tell it to use the repository class for our queries, and that bit was this bit. Let's just copy that bit, replace the entire entity definition thing there. ORM entity repository class equals, and you can see why I don't bother remembering this stuff. Demo bundle. No, it's not demo bundle. Oh, it is demo bundle. Entity product repository. It's not. No, it's in the repository class. Oh man, it's like the worst word ever to try and spell when on camera. Person repository. So effectively, that's telling it to look in here for any queries that we run that it doesn't immediately recognise, such as the these built-in ones. The find one. Where is it? Wherever they were. These ones. Whenever I type in now, say I go into the controller and I come up with a query off the top of my head, like, let's just grab one out, find one by, say I wanted a query, and, oh man, repository, I need to set up that. Ah, dear, oh dear. Right. Apologies. MCM demo bundle person. Right. So I'll get rid of that. People equals repository, and I might want to do find by name and team. Crap query, but whatnot. Why not even? And then we save that. We're going to just have to do a very quick refresh of the cache. And it should throw an error here saying that no idea what that query means. See? Yeah, name and team. Because effectively what it's doing is it's trying to find a field called name and team, which doesn't exist. Or say we did find by name, ordered by team. Right, that definitely won't exist. But what we can do is create it. Find by name, ordered by team. I would like to pass in a parameter to that actually. So let's say find by age. Find where age less than and ordered by team. So we're going to pass in a parameter here, and a parameter is going to be 60. So it's what this query is going to do is find any people where the age is less than 60, and then it's ordering them by team, right? But that obviously doesn't exist, and if we try and run it, I think we will need to do a cache clear again. But if we try and run this, it's going to bomb out because, yeah, blah. This is what I was trying to get. The method name must start with either find by or find one by, because we've not done it like that. But you can put this into the repository class and create this query. So we're going to do public function, whatever the hell it was called, and then age. So that's our parameter, and we're going to pass in. Don't tell me I deleted all that good query nonsense. Oh, useless. We want that, and then we want to go back. Yeah, apologies. So we need our query. Let's see. And let's just go back up. Oh, that's the wrong page entirely. Custom repository class. And then here you can see this is how you want to actually specify it. So we're going to just do return this get entity manager, create query, and that's where we're just going to ditch our query in there. But we're going to make sure we put a thingy in. Messy no. There's a baby in there, huh? Right. And we want to pass in a parameter as well, don't we? Create query. Nick that bit. Set parameter age is less than age. Is that right? Find where age less than ordered by person.fav team. It shouldn't really matter, but do it nicely. So yeah, we've created this custom bit of code which we can now run, and then it gets the result and returns it because it's all in the same return statement. And then we'll do a, and there we go. It's gone off and it's run this additional query, and then it's sorted them by team, which is a bit crap really because it doesn't show anything, does it? Not in any order or anything. That was terrible. But there you go. So it's basically keeping our controller actions much tidier by putting this into a reusable class, which we can then say we've got 20 different controllers. We don't need to retype that, and those benefits of that are fewer bugs because there's only one place. We're not repeating ourselves, so we're doing the dry principle. What else is there? Yeah, all that good stuff. So what's left? What's left in this video? Entity relationships and lifecycle callbacks. That'll be in the next video. Okay, so welcome back. In this video we're going to be looking at doctrine relationships. That's relationships between two entities, or in effect two tables. I've created a new entity called football team, and I've at the moment left the football team, fav football team sort of string column in the person entity. That's the one that we're going to sort of replace with a relation to this football team entity. So there is no relationship between these at the moment. It's just two standalone entities, 3 fields on this new one: ID name, stadium name, and the getters and setters as appropriate. I've updated the database with that data. I don't like the look of that one, so I'm going to quickly give that a rename. Stadium name. And if we just do a clear and then update, just give that a quick refresh, we've now got the stadium name in as appropriate. So we're going to just create a little bit of data here. Manchester United. Oh god, what's it called? Man United. Alright. Oh my god, what's their stadium called? What's it called? I don't know. Theatre of Dreams. I can't even remember what it's called. It proves how much I care about football. Everton, Goodison, Old Trafford, innit? Bloody hell. One noob. And the last one, PNE, and we'll give that a deep down. Right, I'm not going to go into the whole creation crap, whatever, it doesn't matter. Right, so we've got these 3 teams, we've got the grounds, and then we need to relate these. So effectively, many people can support one team in an ideal world. Obviously that's not the case in real life, but this is a try example. So we're going to create this relationship so that many people can support one team. So we'll start off on this side and we'll create a new field, protected field called fans. And I'm just going to nick the one-to-many from here somewhere, or the many-to-one, one-to-many, one-to-many, here we are. And if you noticed, I've called that fans plural, because this is a one-to-many. Let's just call that target entity is person, because that's the entity we're relating to, and it will be mapped by, well, what's the field called? Fave football team. Just take that out. Remember to take off the variable. And then we need to put in the many to one. So I'm just going to do a cheeky nick of that as well. Where will that be? Many to one. Here we are. This is again just on the Doctrine page. Where are we? Relationship mapping metadata. And there's a link. Where's the link? Not that one. Let's just do it this way. Doctrine relationship. I think that's it. That'll be it. And then each one of these is explained in more detail. But you just got to remember to put the @ORM if you're taking them from here, because if you look at many to many, and on ours we've got @ORM and then one to many. So yeah, if you're copying from Doctrine, you've got to remember to prefix them properly. Just going to pop that in. Target entity for ours is football team. Inversed by fans. Remember, that's our field, inversed by fans. Our join column name is going to be called football team ID, because again that's the foreign key, kind of, yeah, the reference. And that's it. Let's just do a cache clear, an update. Okay, let's have a quick look what we've got. So we've got a football team ID, we've got no change there. So what we now need to do is relate these to the football team. So like if we put in 6 here, try and save that, we get an error because there is no team 6. Let's just give him 1, 1, 2, 3, and 3. More fans than North End have in real life, but ha 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 ha. Hilarious football jokes. Right, so those are related now. Effectively what I've done there is just create very simple relationships. We're going to look into messing around with those now inside the controller. We'll leave this one as null. Yep, cool. Right, so if we go back to our controller, we're just going to do basic queries from now. We'll just do find 1, and then we'll dump him out, and we'll see what we get. So you can see now, this has changed slightly. We've got our original class, because we've queried person. Remember, what we've done here is retrieve the repository of person. We'll change this round in a minute to look at it from the inverse side, or the whatever it's called, the other side of the relationship. We're querying from the person repository, so from the perspective of the person in mind, we're looking at their entity, and we can see that we've got a person, his name is Bob, he's 56, and a football team now though is the football team entity. So it's like the related entity has been pulled in, and you can see it's got is proxy is true, proxy initialized is false, which means unfortunately the data here is not populated. However, this is what's called lazy loading, so it's not been pulled in by default. We can fix that in a sec, but you can still get this data. So say, let's see, we want to find out what the team name is. We can do dump of people. We need to tell it what people actually is, otherwise we're not going to get our relation data. Sorry, our auto help data, whatever it's called. Copy path, blah blah blah. Alright, people get fave football team get name, I think it is. And then if we refresh, we should just get this single column. So football team of Man United is the, must be his name. What did we do? Bob. Was it Bob? Find 1. Bob has a favourite football team of ID 1. Football team 1 is named Man United. And again, we could change that to stadium name if we were so inclined. Stadium name. And refresh. And we get Old Trafford instead. Right, so yeah, that's basically collecting our related data. So we can also do, we can do it like this. people. Let's see. In fact, we'll do. Let's see. We'll change Bob from being a fan of Man United. Let's say Chelsea. Have we got Chelsea in there? No, we got Everton. Let's say Everton somehow suddenly become amazing and win the league, and they get the glory fans traitoring across. So we want to swap Bob's team. Is it Bob? Christ, I don't know. Right, we'll do team equals. Let's get repository football. Find what's the. It's 2. So now we have Everton in this. Let's just change this to Everton. Right, and then we want to do people. So in this case, it's Bob. We'll just call this Bob. Bob, because that's basically what this holds. Bob. Set. Person. Why is that not giving me? It's not allowing me to autocomplete. Set. Fave football team. And we're actually passing in now. We're passing in the entity. If you've noticed, we're not passing in a number. Like if we try, we'll try it with 2. Set might actually bomb out at just at that. Let's see what we get, and I'll explain why. Yeah, undefined. Oh, God Almighty! Right, let's try again. It is allowing us to do that. Fave football team. Oh right, it's because we've not set this here as football team. So effectively what we're saying is you should only actually be able to save this entity here. That's not explained very well at all. Just try it though. Right, yeah. Let's see how the best way to explain this is. Right, in SQL, you would be used to doing the football team ID would literally be an integer representing the name of the record, the primary key of the football team in question. So what we would want to do, we would say, Bob has become an Everton fan. So instead of having his football team ID of 1, we want to set it to football ID of 2, right? That's not how it works though in Doctrine. In Doctrine, we need to say, Bob's favourite football team has to be of class football team, right? So you have to first get the class football team populated with the data in question. In this case, we've put that into Everton, the variable Everton, because we've found primary key 2 in the football team table, which just so happens to be Everton, right? So we've got this data populated into this variable. Now we can set the favourite football team to Everton. And then if we dump Bob, we will now see that he's become an Everton fan. There we go. Right, and that is how you have to do it. You have to do it like that. Otherwise you will just get errors when you try and persist. In fact, let's just try persisting that off now. I'm going to need to get the entity manager. I really should know these things off the top of my head. I'm just so used to copying and pasting. Would make it damn sight easy though, wouldn't it? Right. Let's get rid of that. Alright, let's put some lines in there. So again, we're just getting the entity manager and we're going to persist Bob or save Bob. And remember, this is going to save his relationship data as well. So this should error out because there's no such relation as 2. See, argument I. Let's just remove that then. Because at the moment we're forcing it to take that. If you're not sure what I was doing there, set favourite football team, we can actually type hint it so that it has to be of that type. And what I was doing was passing it in football team, so it had the variable that I was setting, the variable I was passing to set fave football team had to be of type football team, so it had to be an instance of this class. Otherwise it won't even allow you to get past this part of the call in the setter. As it is, I've removed that, so it should just allow anything in there, which is why I'm passing in number 2, but Doctrine will have a little fit Yeah, there we are. Expects parameter 1 to be an object, but we've given it an integer. So that's basically the problem there. We can't just pass that in. It has to be of type. So it is common actually to do this. So you type into it, then that literally stops getting it past even to that point. Well, let's just refresh it. Right, so now if we refresh here, we can now see that Bob has been updated to team 2. So we've saved off that related entity there. The other thing though was, as you saw, the data was proxied. It wasn't actually loaded in, and to do that we would need to do use the query builder or the DQL to get the data properly populated. So we'll do that quickly. I'm just wondering. Oh, I didn't save it, did I? Let's just see then. I'll just go pause it and then just create it so that you don't have to sit and watch it. Alright, so what I've done is just created a basic query. We're querying off the person repository, and we are doing a basic selection of everything out of the person entity. We're also adding in a select for everything out of the football team entity that's related, which we're then doing there, left join on this related field. So person.fave football team, pull in the related entity there. There can be only one because it's one to many, and we're then putting that into FT, which we're selecting anyway, where the name is name, and our name that we're looking for is a guy called John. We're just getting a single result. And then so if we load that back up and have a look at it now, you can see that the football team entity has been completely populated. It's got the ID, it's got the fans, which is an array because remember there's many fans. We're going to cover that. Actually, one thing that we should have done on the football team entity is put in here a public function construct, and then this fans equals new doctrine. Oh shit, no, not shit, sorry. Oops, language. New array collection, and then that will just automatically use an array collection, which is better than what we would want. Let's just refresh. Have I already got that open? I think I have. Right, so yeah, so it's populated the array, and again I think I said it's a while since I started recording this video. I think I said we would look at it from the opposite side as well. So I'm just going to change this round to football team. We're going to do create query builder. Let's just do a basic, bit of basic something here. Team equals repository find, and what teams have we got? 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3, which has got actually some fans. 2, 2, 2. We'll stick this guy in 2 as well. Right, and then we'll find number 2, and then we'll just dump 2 out, see what we get from the inverse side. So you can see here we've got the Everton team, which has got 3 fans, and then we could just drill into get fans, I think it is. Let's see. We've got undefined method. Have I not defined that? Football team fans. Okay, we've not done it, have we? Silly me. Just going to do the getters and setters. Save that and go back here. What have we got? So each one, then you can see like the inverse side, but you can see, you know, I said, I can't remember right at the beginning, when you're dumping out using print r or var dump, you get this recursion because, as you can see there, this entity is related to this entity, but this entity is also related to this entity. So as soon as you start trying to dump it out, it's like, well, let's print this and print that, but this is related to that, so print that, and it also has one of these to print that, but that's related to that, so print that, and it gets like, you know about it because your computer's like, you know, it takes off, like the fans inside kick in, and it all goes a bit pear-shaped. So yeah, that's like from both sides. Don't worry too much at this point if you're like thinking it's still not that clear. We will be covering it more because there's no escaping this stuff when you get into it like when you're doing a big application. I think the one other thing that I said I would cover is raw SQL. I have that on my blog. It's quite a popular post, and we'll just go through. And effectively, what we're going to do is just rip out a block. I'm going to paste it in here. Don't think we need a repository. And yeah, you can see this is actually like proper SQL as you would know it. Again, we've got the variable name, so I'm just going to do count. Let's do count ID as num, and we'll do name from. Oh, what have we got? What's the table called? Person and where age is greater than age. I'll get rid of the group by. And we'll just have this as 10. I'll do it as 16, so we miss off 1 at least. And then we've got a return there, but we don't want to return. We want to put this in var. We'll just dump out var. See what we get. Oh man, let's just try it. What do we get? Call to undefined method, default control, get entity manager. Oh, okay. I need to change this, get entity manager. Man alive. Let's try this instead. I think that code needs updating perhaps, and just get rid of that. And we're not dumping that out, we're dumping out var. So you can see there we've just ripped it out like raw. Just doing some basic SQL really there, like selected num, how many IDs there are, and I don't know why that's come back as name Bob. Don't know. That query was probably crap. But yeah, you can see that that's basically raw SQL. So if we just do star, select star. Don't need to do any count nonsense. And then we'll do that. You can see like it's just ripped it all out, like properly raw. Yeah. So that's how you can do it. I don't advise it, but there are occasions when you will need to do raw SQL. I think the last thing that I said I would cover, I'm just going to pull up the slides. The last thing I said we would cover is lifecycle callbacks. Again, something that I've got on the blog, using lifecycle callbacks. Right, effectively what these are is little handy bits and pieces that automatically run a bit of code when your entities get touched. Like in this case, we're going to be doing a updated at and created at. Let's just see. I'll do this in a separate video because I'm sure it would be better standalone. Okay, so the last thing we're going to cover in the Doctrine introductory video is lifecycle callbacks. Now on the blog, I've actually put this in already, but if you go to moscow.co.uk/lifecycle callbacks, you're going to get to this page when it reloads, and I've just put in like a handy sort of half-done entity, I guess, with the data that you need. So we're just going to copy out this annotation. I'm going to put it into our person entity right at the top, and we also need the fields that we're going to use. Now you don't have to use these, but I'm just going to use them as created at and updated at. I'm just going to stick them at the bottom, and basically what these do is whenever the entity is updated or indeed created, there will be some methods that are triggered automatically behind the scenes without me needing to worry about them. I'm just going to take that bit out, paste that in. So we'll just take a quick look at what's happening. On a let's see, pre-create, pre-update, where are we? Is it created at pre-persist? Pre-persist, pre-update. Right, so for the first time the object is saved, this action will be fired, which simply just sets created at and updated at to a new instance of date time. And then whenever the object after that is updated, or just about to be updated, the updated at is set to a new date time. And of course, being new date time, it just takes, by default, it creates it now, if you know what I mean. This will be created and populated with now, like the date right now. So the updated at just takes that, sets it to this second, and then when this object is persisted, it's automatically updated in the database. So let's just quickly do a cache clear and update the database, and then we should get these columns. Yep, created at and updated at. Now obviously these ones aren't going to get a created at because they're already created, but if we update one, you'll see what I mean. So we'll get that repository, and we want the person. We want to do a person repository. Oh man, repository find. I'll just do find one. I'm going to do person yeesh person set name as James. We're then going to persist that off. Have I spelled that wrong? No, it will still work though, I'm pretty sure. Just having a bit of a moan. We need the entity manager, don't we? Entity manager. We'll just take that bit out, and we're nearly done. Promise. It's been a long video, and I'm starving. Entity manager, persist person, find one. We've set his name. Let's just refresh that. Yep, jobs are good in. So this should have fired off. We've got an updated at, and then if we do a get rid of all that crap. Person. There's new person. Person. Set name. Ben. Set age. 6. We won't bother with a football team. I don't think we'll get away with that actually. And then just lastly, yep, jobs are good. And we're just going to refresh it, and now you can see. We didn't bother setting the football team because that would have just taken time, but you can see there that the created at and updated at is done. So that's basically it in this introduction to Doctrine. It's been a long one, I apologise. I tried to be as quick as possible. It's just a big subject. We're going to cover Doctrine again in the forums video, which is coming up next, and then also when we go through like the building an actual project, you'll see Doctrine used for real. We'll cover off all the different types of relationships, and yeah, it's one of the things where you use it, you get used to it, and then you start to love it. Well, not love it, I mean, you know, if you do love it, then fair play to you, but you'll appreciate it. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Any feedback or questions, just either leave them on the YouTube video or get in touch via the blog, or yeah, cool. Thanks for watching.